In the second round, the first leg came at Tannadice, and a 3-0 win over University Craiova made the return journey to Romania a relatively comfortable one. And although United went down by a goal to 0, 3-1 in aggregate was more than adequate. And then in the third round, it was back to Eastern Europe. This time, again, the hard work done at Tannadice. 2-0 to United over Hajduk Split. And then in the sun of a Yugoslavian afternoon, a comfortable no-scoring draw with Billy Thompson in great form.
The watch tells us we now officially have exactly 20 minutes left. Still no scoring. And that's a better shot, and it's off the ball. Brilliant shot by Andrea Sevic. I wonder if he's got the slightest of touches. Yeah. We may see from this one, yes, that goes under the category of a quite brilliant save.
So that's how those two sides meet tonight at the Nou Camp Stadium in Barcelona. Jim McLean, of course, United's manager, the master tactician, the great motivator. On Monday, he was almost bullying his players, almost threatening them by saying that if they didn't do the business, there would be big changes made at Tannadice. Yesterday, it was all very much playing it down. He was saying that it was no more important, no more difficult than an away match in the Premier Division, let's say, at Pataudry. He really is the great tactician, and earlier today, he spoke to Archie McPherson in Barcelona.
Well, it's, I think that the reason we've had extremely good success in past years is due to Eamon Bannon, Paul Sturrock, and the way that they play and attack defenders. And it's a very big, it's a big blow to lose Eamon.
I suppose you mustn't allow it to depress either you or the players, though.
No, I think the most important thing is there are other good players who have equally been very responsible for the good run we've had in Europe, and we've got people with terrific experience of the situation that we're going into tonight.
Have you had to radically alter your plans, though, as a result of that?
That to me is the biggest blow, actually, because we were definitely going to play very similar, and almost certainly could well have been even the same team as we played in Dundee, but without Eamon's running power, then we've got to rethink whether we can just put somebody in his place. If we had a similar player, then it would be no problem, but we definitely don't have anybody that runs with the ball.
It can't really be, for 90 minutes, a backs-to-the-wall sort of game. I mean, that's always too risky, isn't it?
Well, that's why Eamon, Paul Sturrock, Kevin Gallagher were so important to us. But we've got 2 out of 3, and it is essential that they get the ball and get running at the defenders, especially the full-backs, because I think that in these positions we could exploit the weakness.
Do you think you've had enough experience not to be overawed by that huge stadium and a crowd of 100,000?
Well, I think that anybody that plays football at professional level wants to be here tonight, and in my opinion it's an experience that we all should be looking forward to. And if you're a professional football player, then in my opinion there's no way that you should be overawed with the situation. That's going to be terrible with the sun in my eyes.
Well, I hope you're smiling after the game, Jim. I know it's a very tricky sun now, but Barcelona are themselves going to be very tricky. Do you imagine a kind of all-out onslaught on you?
Well, I think that they'll be wary early on. They're pushing too many players down, but obviously they'll be wanting us to play around the 18-yard box. And it is absolutely essential that we get people attacking, in particular, as I said, their full-backs. We must take the game to them as much as we possibly can.
Jim McLean earlier today. So no Eamon Bannon playing for United tonight, who is, though, alongside our match commentator. Let's now go live to the Nou Camp Stadium and join Archie McPherson.
Thank you very much, Dougie. And let me say right away, with the Dundee United players just having come out on the pitch, and there is a line-up tonight, and tragically Eamon Bannon unable to play, he has bruised ribs, but he'll be sitting beside me and I'll be talking to him in just a few seconds. Now, both yourself tonight and myself on Saturday night were extolling the virtues of this stadium, or at least the attraction of it. It's an immense piece of architecture, but I can tell you right now that it's only about a third full. It's a much smaller crowd than was expected. Very difficult to judge because it's an immense stadium, but I would put it no more at the moment than about 20,000. And since the intimidation of the sound of the crowd has been one of the factors that we've always considered about the Nou Camp, it may well be that that will act to Dundee United's advantage. Certainly they'll play, from what I can see about this Stadium at the moment in much more intimidating environments. The other aspect, of course, that is very important, that while outside in the city of Barcelona, there's almost a gale blowing at the moment because the walls of the terracing are so high, it is very placid and calm down there on the playing surface itself. There's hardly a breath of wind at all. And the surface, and I think I was hearing John Gregg talk about it there, is perfection. And he knows that only too well. It was when he played here those several years ago, and certainly hasn't deteriorated. In fact, it might even be better. In other words, Barcelona, one of the most expensively acquired teams in the world, are fitted into this amazing structure. But at the end of the day, they're playing against the team Dundee United, who are as experienced as any British side at this sort of thing. And that, I think, is what Jim McLean has pumped into his players since they arrived in Spain 2 days ago. 21 years ago, Dundee United kicked off in this very stadium in the Old Bears Cup and went on to record one of the most amazing victories by beating Barcelona by 2-1. And would you believe they were the first British team to win on Spanish soil in a European competition, and nobody has repeated that feat in all of that time. The very famous goalkeeper Zubizarreta getting a good feel of the ball early on, and that is Migueli, the man they call Tarzan. The Barcelona people have been talking about Paul Sturrock and his abilities, because they realized that he tore the defense to shreds in the first game. John Holt. Oh, that was surely a push. And the man who was doing the pushing, Mark Hughes. Great deal of controversy at the moment about Hughes, and sitting way down underneath us is Alex Ferguson, Manchester United's manager, who apparently has come to have a look at him. Story run in a paper that he was interested in Paul Sturrock, who's now on the ball, but that has been denied. Sturrock. Geraldo with him. Sturrock can't get it back. And as I said, sitting beside me is Eamon Bannon. Eamon, I'm sure you must be disappointed you can't play on an occasion like this.
Yes, this is possibly one of the players' highlights of his career, and unfortunately I'll have to miss it through injury, and it's a real sickener. I'm just hoping the boys do well. They've started well. They've actually pinned them back a little bit. Paul Sturrock's got a couple of early touches.
The kind of start, I think, that was planned by Dundee United, who quite clearly cannot camp themselves along the edge of their penalty box. We have been told, of course, by the local scribes here that Barcelona are not playing nearly as well as they should. They're certainly very critical of Mark Hughes. He's going through a terrible period at the moment. But that was Migueli trying to go in there, and I think a challenge by Redmond that the referee didn't like. That's the free kick. Just about 3 minutes gone. Way out here is Marcos. Marcos, free kick. Marcos is the player that United supporters didn't see at Paradise. He's in the team today, and of course, the big disappointment is Carrasco. Disappointment for Barcelona, that is. He's unable to play. He was suspended, and he was certainly one of the most creative and inventive of players in that first leg. And Geraldo, nice little run to the outside, and that has gone over. Let me repeat that this is a very surprising sight. We were expecting something in the region of 80 to 90,000. I'll get verification of it from Eamon Bannon, who can cast his